It's been too long since we've seen Mammootty, man. I feel like I feel a bit bad for not seeing more Mammootty stuff, but hopefully this will give us a different insight.
Yeah, looking forward to it, man. I feel like I haven't heard him talking very often besides just his acting roles. So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, this will be interesting. So we don't know, like all listeners, we don't know how this is going to go. We're doing a reaction video to an interview like this for the first time. I think we did the mashup. We did the mashup reaction, which I think was a bit more easy to understand how we were going to do. But this one, we have no idea if we're going to react to the whole thing or part of what he's saying. We don't even know what this interview is about, to be completely honest. So we're coming in completely blind, but we're hoping that it's going to be about Mammootty talking about maybe his acting, maybe some roles he's got, his approach to acting, maybe, and all that. But yes, Sunny, what are your expectations coming in if I ask a random question?
Man, I reckon I'm just so fascinated in Mammootty. My impression of him as an actor is a guy who's really committed to the craft of acting. So if any part of this interview goes towards how he approaches acting or how he went about kind of preparing for his major roles, I'd love to hear that, man. And he's a guy I could listen to for a very long time, I reckon. So I'm expecting good things.
Yeah, no, me too. Looking forward to. Also, this interview is in English, so we're going to hear him speak probably fluent English, what I'm imagining. Just from small clips I've seen of him, he seems like he speaks English fine. He's even done an English movie, I think. So,
oh wow, yeah. Okay.
So anyone that has any, prejudices, if you could say, about Indians not being able to speak English, I hope this one deflates all of them. But yeah, Sunny, let's get into it, man. Let's see what
let's do it, man.
Got to say. Let's get into it. Let's go.
He studied science, trained as a lawyer, and ended up as an actor. And then he went on to become perhaps the most famous star in South India. How did he do it? Well, let's see if you find out as I introduce you to the one and only Welcome to the... although the world knows you as Mammootty, the name your parents originally gave you is very different, isn't it?
It is not actually Mammootty. Nobody called me Mammootty before I joined the college. My name is Muhammad Kuti. That's my grandfather's name I followed.
So Mammootty was the name that you gave yourself?
Mammootty, you just you repeat very fast. Mammootty, Muhammad Kuti, Muhammad Kuti. That's all.
So Mammootty is your own.
It's not a screen name which I lately put. No, it is actually my pet name or a nickname, anything.
And the name that you prefer?
Now I am known as Mammootty.
Now you're the eldest of 6 children.
Yes.
Do your siblings look up to you, or do they gang up and tease you?
No, they are very proud of me, actually. I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters. All my sisters are married and settled. One of my brother is an actor, small-time actor in television. He is trying to pick up. Another actor, both of them are producing television serials and all.
Now, I gather your dream of becoming an actor was born the day you saw your first film.
My first movie. I don't remember which year and when how old I was. I still remember the hero. I don't know who the hero was. Might be MGR or somebody. Was galloping on a horse to save the heroine, and he was wearing a tie also like you. And the tie was flying like when you ride the horse, it flies. That is the image I have. That day I have decided I will become a hero like that. But I don't remember that I have done a role like that yet.
What was it that attracted you? The idea of riding a horse?
I don't know, man. There's something about him that's just so... I don't know, it's even so likable about him, right? The way he sort of speaks, the big smile he has, the way he uses his body language to speak.
Yeah.
Something quite nice about that.
he just seems like an ordinary person in this interview, just talking casually about himself, right? It doesn't seem like a big superstar having kind of a big personality. He just seems very kind of soft-spoken and gentle. And yeah, he's got that smile and maybe speaks to some of the joy he gets from talking about films.
Seems very relaxed, right? Like, seems like there's something...
Yes.
I mean, that genuineness seems to come across quite real in him. If I compare this to like a lot of, I'm not going to say all Hollywood interviews, but they definitely feel like they're a bit more, I guess, serious, or they're on the other side. They're like really like, jokey. This one feels
putting on a show kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Like if they're a comedian, they have to be a comedian doing an interview.
Yep.
Or if they're really
Yes.
intense, they're really intense. Like even though
Yes.
he's sitting laid back and just chilling out, like it's a cool look, man.
It's and just the charisma kind of just flows out of him, I think, and like he's got that kind of good way of like using his body. You know, he's like showing his hands and everything. He's just a very captivating speaker already.
Yeah, definitely. No, and his English is completely fine, right? Like it's
Perfect
English and like very gracious in the way he speaks. Interesting about his sort of he's sort of got inspired like we do, with the hero sort of galloping. Interesting because like he's obviously done more than that, right? We've seen him be a psychopath in Rorschach. We saw him be a gangster in Bisham Parvam. We saw him.
That's right.
Be like, I don't know what he was in Muniripu. He was something else.
Low-key killer. Yeah.
Yeah, like a killer. So he's obviously taken that, but he's obviously not just a hero. He's much more than that. Like
no, exactly.
Yeah. So interesting. I'm quite liking it so far.
I'm
see how we keep going.
Yeah.
Or riding away with the heroine.
No, I'm a small kid, but see, I think the narcissist in me started growing. Who started, narcissist is actually who falls in love with his own image.
So you fell in love with yourself at that moment.
Might be.
Now, in fact, you got your first break in a movie very young. You were just out of school when you got a role in, and I'm probably going to mispronounce it, so forgive me, Anubhavangal
Palichagal. It's just after finishing my schooling. I was on my vacation. I just was trying to, as an enthusiast to movies, I went to watch a shooting happening. I just requested the director, Mr. Sethu Madhavan. He is a very famous director. Can you give me a chance to appear in this? And then you come. Just see, I was supposed to run with a very popular comedian. Then I tried to act even then. Then he said, no, don't do it. Don't. because I was very new to the sunlight and they were keeping very strong reflectors, being black and white films. And I could not open. I was keeping like this. And he said, don't act. He thought I was acting because the scene was a little emotional. Then when the film was released, I became a star in my village.
And it all literally happened by accident. If you hadn't asked him for a chance, you might never have become an actor.
No, searching for a chance to appear in a film was continuous. If I was not able to ask him, I would have asked to the next director.
Sadly, though, although you became quite a local star with the film, your next film, Deva Lokam, never really
Deva Lokam after a long time.
And it never got finished after 3 days of shooting.
I finished that's in my last year of my law. I was called to act in a film, which was produced by Janashakti Films and directed by M.T. Vasudevan Nair. And that is still in the cans. It is not in Cannes, it's in the cans.
But why? What happened? What went wrong? Why?
It's hilarious, man. But it's just interesting to hear about some of the backgrounds of sort of the actors from the Malayalam film industry, especially from like Mammootty's time period, right? Because like when you think of actors, like you would think they'd come like trained in some kind of form, or they would have done some kind of acting roles. But he was I don't know if he's practicing law or I think he studied law, right? Like you
studying, yeah.
So you must be the next. You must be the next.
Basically the same guy. Just waiting for my big break.
You just got to ask, man. You just got to ask.
Just got to ask. That's the message.
It's pretty interesting, right? Because you just see that. I don't know, man. Like it's a very different background, and I don't know how that translates because I don't know if they would. I don't know if actors come through in a way like this anymore. Like, come in sort of such a humble kind of way. You have to have some kind of, I don't know, maybe social media presence, or you must have some kind of camera presence, or done some kind of TV show, or have some
formal education.
Or education, I guess, or maybe even like your parents were actors or in the industry.
Yes.
So it's different for someone like Mammootty, and I'm sure all the sort of actors of that sort of generation, I think they must have just come at that time.
And it'd be interesting to see if he didn't go to film school or anything by the sounds of it. I wonder if, given all of these great actors from his generation, whether now there is like established film schools where they do teach this stuff, or whether it's just still kind of all natural and you learn by observing and having a go. Like that's be interesting to see. And his story obviously must have inspired a lot of people as well, right? Like
of course,
it's a great story just based on what he said already.
Yeah, definitely. No, it doesn't sound like. I mean, he was studying, so he obviously comes from like a middle class family, or I don't know, maybe a higher class family. So he had opportunities like that, which is great. But yeah, just the fact that even to be, daring enough to be like, all right, I'm a lawyer. I've studied law. I'm gonna have a go at acting. Maybe he didn't know he was going to go down this path where he'd become a superstar. But he obviously had he. It sucks. He mentioned something like, if that movie didn't work out, I would have tried again and again.
Yeah. And I love that. He obviously is drawn to cinema, and he's talking about it at a young age where he was already captivated by film in some way or form or another. I also just like the fact that he doesn't want to create these like narratives that it's all chance that led to this. He was kind of like, no, if that hadn't worked, I would have just kept trying. And that passion is what keeps me going. Like I really appreciate that he didn't kind of take the bait there and say, oh yeah, it was that one thing that changed the course of my life. He was like, if I didn't get that, I would have kept trying because I really wanted it. And that's a great message as well.
Yeah, nothing. So it's not that glamorous, right? It's just like, I tried, I did okay. And then basically if it didn't work out, I would have gone to the next one.
Tried again. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also, I mean, there is sort of good fortune and chance to just sort of,
Of course.
I don't know how you could rock up in today's age and just be like, yep, I want to be in a movie. And just sort of...
Mr. Spielberg, can I have a part?
Yeah. Just get me a role somewhere. But yeah, let's sort of keep going, man. I'm kind of liking
keep going.
The sort of path is going. Let's see what... The interview is also pretty good as well. I like this kind of style, this old-fashioned kind of... look, man.
One-on-one, generally, yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of back in, like, I think they used to have this stuff like the early... not early, like mid-90s and stuff like that. More like this kind of look as well. With the whole
yeah.
It's something about it. Yeah.
Why did it not get finished?
Which I was not very aware of it.
So at this point, when the first movie had happened and the second never happened, did you begin to despair? Were you getting disheartened?
No, without any delay, MTA called me again for his next film, which is called Vilkanunda Swapnangal, The Dreams for Sale.
And this one actually fulfilled your dream.
I've started selling dreams now.
Did you realize when you were acting in that movie that this was going to change your career?
No. I was expecting a small role like henchman, yes boss kind of roles in, second, third, fourth villain or something, because I was doing little negative role with a negative shade.
And when you discovered the actual role you had, were you surprised?
Because I was presented as a full-fledged hero, which the film was not a super hit, or even it is a flop actually. Another film called Mela, which was directed by K.T. George, one of the best directors we have in South. And an actor who was with me in Vilkanunda Swapnangal called Srinivasan introduced me to Mr. George, and he gave me a good role, which I was with all potentials of a hero. I was presented that way. I was supposed to sing. I was in a very adventurous kind of... he was playing a circus motorbike chamber in the circus. So I was presented as a hero. And from there, people started giving me smaller roles. After 3 years, in 1983, a film called... film directed by Mr. Vishwambaran. Again, I was playing a lawyer in that film. That film clicked.
And then, in fact, the Mammootty legend was born.
Wow.
I became a hero then. Even the very first year of my career, 1981, I got the Best Supporting Actor Award from the Government of Kerala. 1983, 84, 85, I got continuously Best Actor.
There came a point when, in fact, you got so many awards, getting awards must have become boring.
No. I love to be awarded.
One of the directors that you've established very close to...
Oh man, yep. We have to see a Mammootty comedy next. Leave anyone in the comments. Leave us a Mammootty comedy. Because,
we need to get on that.
He definitely has some great timing. That was hilarious.
I love to get awards.
No. I just love to get rewarded. But
I love the honesty.
Yeah, I love the honesty about it. Interesting, man. So 1983. So that's when he started becoming a hero.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did he start? He started in 70s, or he was saying he said 81 is the first year of his career. He said, but maybe that's when he's established or something.
I think so. Yes, but interesting. He went through. So he wasn't a superstar to start with, right? It looks like he actually had some small supporting kind of roles to begin with.
Yes.
And then he grew into this legend. So it is kind of a gradual approach. I'm not sure he just sort of burst onto the scene and just
didn't blow up,
doors down, and just became who
getting
he
all
is
the
today.
awards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he says getting the awards.
Yeah. And it's like such a useful insight into kind of an actor's journey in a way, right? Like it all starts really small and you get a couple of lucky breaks there. Obviously, as I was saying, and we were both mentioning, you work really hard, but it obviously shows that hard work that he's put in. You take the smaller roles and eventually you get a big opportunity and you shine when he's given this role of being a potential hero and all the characteristics of a hero. It's kind of interesting tracking that journey because we just see the end product of a superstar, right? And it's hard to see him as anything other than that, even in the older film that we've watched, Mona Europe. So it's so interesting hearing these stories, man. And I wonder if that's a pretty common actor trajectory in a way. You would think like, you got to do your time.
I think so. I think that was more common back in the day. I don't think obviously the industry changed so much and it's blown up so much.
Yes.
Even in I know even in Hollywood, like back in the day, like actors were not what they are today, like superstars, multi-million-dollar contracts and stuff like that, in Hollywood at least.
Good point. Good point.
So it is probably a product of the time as well. Entertainment industry was just not this big what it is today, like the monolith it is.
True.
And that's probably across the board for all industries. But it's just fascinating to keep listening to him talk. Best supporting actor as well. So he obviously has that
played second fiddle,
innate talent to just be able to act without much training, as we said before. So I wonder how he just got into it. He was just, I guess he was inspired by that one sort of movie that he had seen, I guess, and that's kind of a general thing, I think.
But how do you know how to do the craft? Like, how are you being like, no, I'm going to act now? And like, what are you using to like learn other than just watching people? But it's so interesting if you're not properly trained, how you even put yourself into these situations and give yourself a shot.
Yeah, he's mentioned quite a few people though. I think he's mentioned directors and other actors. So
good point.
He hasn't mentioned a specific mentor or anything like that, but I imagine, and knowing a little bit about this industry and how sort of I guess communal it is and how everyone's sort of looking after each other and
community. Yeah.
It looks like, directors are becoming actors and actors are becoming singers and they have all kinds of multi-talents. Because it was funny when they said something like he was asked to sing, but how many like actors have we seen that are like writers, directors, singers, like producers, as well as acting in like lead roles? So it's been like that since the start, it seems like. It's just carried on.
That's right. It's great to see. Like, I love that versatility. And I'm sure he did have people he looked up to and like learned a lot from in terms of the craft of acting as well. But that versatility and the community nature of the Malayalam film industry it's just an amazing thing to have, I think, and so rare.
No, it really is. It's a whole different perspective. One that I didn't expect coming in when we started reviewing Malayalam movies, to just hear that, this guy also directed this movie. I'm like, wait, what? He directed the movie? Like, when have you seen, except for like a Tarantino, like, 2-second cameo or something like that, we don't see them actual characters.
Crossover like that. That's right.
Yeah. It's good going, man. This is going well.
Yeah.
Close relationship with is the director Joshi. Many of your fans say that some of your best films have happened with him, and yet I gather that at the very first time when you were doing, I think, Ratri, the relationship.
Ratri. We had a small fight. I was very busy during that time because I was shooting day and night. One night we were shooting, and when he cried out action, I was sleeping.
Fast asleep.
I was standing and sleeping.
And what did he say?
He said, "Thanks." When I got up, when I came to know that, I just went to his room and said, I'm sorry, and apologized to him. Now we are very close. No hassle.
So this great relationship could have ended with a little accident at the very beginning.
That is
accidents have featured in your life quite regularly, haven't they?
It happens too.
When one looks at the graph of your career, it's a steady line climbing upwards. But there is a period in 85, 86.
85, 86, I have a big decline.
Yes, what happened? What went wrong?
I think it was during my repetition of roles, which is a family man, businessman kind of, people started kind of aversion towards me to the roles which I was doing.
You mean you were repeating yourself and playing safe?
Safe. So from there I started reinventing me. I got a chance again with Mr. Joshi in New Delhi. That's the new start. Actually, I started as an actor from there only.
You said something very interesting. That's the point when you began reinventing yourself.
Reinventing means, see, as an actor, you have been doing something, and you have to rewind and see what have you done. Then you can correct yourself and you can reinvent what again you can do, what else you can do, whatever you can do.
So every movie that Mammootty makes has to be not just different, but another challenge.
Another challenge. No, see, what I feel is whenever I do a film, whenever I accept a film, and one of my very close directors, like Mr. Satyan Andikad, used to say, whenever you sign Mammootty, he will not let you sleep. He'll be asking about his role always. And like that, whenever I accept a film, I think and I believe that is my first film. And this is going to give me a chance.
Wow.
This is going to give me more me to act.
But isn't that difficult to have as an attitude? Because at the back of your mind is also the fact that you are now a superstar.
Yeah, superstardom is another responsibility to act also, act well, and you have to make your producer safe also. There are two kinds of responsibilities. As an actor, you have to be safe as an actor, and your producer also safe financially. So that is the double responsibility.
So looking back, that period.
He is somebody that is, as we sort of mentioned at the start, is definitely dedicated to this craft.
Yeah.
Sounding like a man. The fact that he says that every role has to be different and a challenge. He's doing that even now.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
That's the crazy part. Like it's actually that hasn't left him. And I don't know if he mentioned that part about in 85 and 86 he had a bit of a dip. That must have been a huge just reflection era for him, where he just said I can't do this ever again, because there was stuff that we've seen of him, which is definitely more recent. It's just some of the most different roles that I can think of for someone at his age to be doing.
Yes. Like this mentality, whenever this interview was, it carries through even till now. He's 71 years of age, and he's still, it sounds like from the movies we've watched, he's still adopting this mentality, which it just blows my mind, man. And yeah, that period where he had the decline must have given him a lot of pause for thought. And he says his career really started after that, with that first role where he got to play someone more complex or something a bit different. And yeah, he's just continued on with that mentality. It blows my mind, man. He could be sitting on his laurels right now playing a hero and people would still flock to go see him, you'd think. But he's still challenging himself.
Nah, he's somebody that doesn't really, he said something, approach every movie like it's your first. I've never heard that from any actor I've ever listened to, and I've heard a lot of actors speak.
Yes.
But if he just,
and I like
that. Go for it, man.
Yeah. No.
I was going to say, if he just sort of keeps up that sort of, mentality, that's why everything is so fresh with him. And we rarely ever see the actor, because he's able to separate Mammootty so well from the character he's playing. Right? Like the question he asked about the whole separation between the stardom and sort of the role he plays, he's able to differentiate between them so well. And it never bleeds in. That's why we never see Mammootty.
No.
In these movies, we always see, Rorschach, he's a crazy character. Or
the character he's playing, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He just disappears.
Yeah.
And you forget to see him. I also just like the fact that he talked about the responsibility of being a superstar. That's not even a thing I've even thought about, that you have a responsibility other than to show up and do well. But he's saying, you've got to be safe in that you have to put forward your best performance, but you also have to, on the financial side, look after the director and the producers and make money for them. Maybe it goes without saying, but he's obviously got that sense of responsibility beyond just this is a craft, but I also have to deliver a safe performance for someone who's trusted me to, make a successful movie. It sounds like he's thought deeply about these things.
No, I think that attitude as well is pretty reflective of the industry itself, right? Look out for each other.
Good point.
That's sort of, I've never heard any actors talk about sort of how they have to be mindful of the fact that the producers actually put their money on the line for this, and it might be a financial loss, and that's going to be bad on his livelihood. For someone like Mammootty, even at this stage of his career, to be a multi-millionaire, and top of his craft and everything like that, to just keep that in mind, I think it just flows from the top, right? We know that in corporations and everything like that, we feel you set the tone from the top and it all comes down. So he's obviously at the top, and that's just his influence has obviously gone on to the younger generation and everyone involved in the whole industry. I think it must just be huge, and that's why he's so respected in the industry so much, because he's just done so much.
That's right. And I just, part of me is like, I wonder what would have been like for the audience that first saw a really different side of Mammootty, like the non-family man, businessman, hero guy, and saw him doing something vastly different and would just be like completely blown away. I'm trying to think of a Hollywood comparison where an actor does a complete 180 and does something completely unexpected. Like, nothing comes to mind, but that would have been mind blowing. And I guess the directors who have this faith in him and can see the talent there and give him these opportunities, that obviously must give him a sense of responsibility back to, you've given me this trust. I've got to deliver an amazing performance.
No, it's impressive, man. I'm really getting a lot of more respect for him. And I think these are things that we had thought about, but him just sort of explaining the process as to how he gets into the studio and how he works, and sort of his commitment to not just his craft, but making sure that everyone's being taken care of,
looked after.
Impressive, man. It's really, really nice to hear.
And I just love the story of him like going in and apologizing to the director. Just like seems like a really just a mistake happened, and he's a very straightforward person who's genuine, and he just went and apologized. Like, it's a small little insight into the fact that maybe there isn't much ego here, and he's a pretty humble guy.
Yeah, but just tell you, like, these small little incidents, they can make a huge difference. And that's sort of how, life is in sort of all regards. Like, we have the small little moments that if things had gone this way, if he had just packed up and left, I mean, he would have been fine anyway, but who knows, maybe he would have led down a different path. Like,
That's right. Yeah, exactly. You just can never be sure.
No, exactly right. Yeah, let's keep going, man. I'm really enjoying this. Let's just...
Period 85-86 has actually been a very helpful period, because it was really
it's a bad period for me, and I thought I will not be picking up again.
You were desperate.
I was desperate.
You thought this was
and
all
I was
finished.
also humiliated badly.
Wow.
Though I'm feeling little happy about it, but my experiences were very bad. People were underestimating me as an actor even. So that gave me a rebirth after.
Was it the sense of humiliation and the fact that people were underestimating you that really encouraged you?
Do that encourage you? I don't think, but
what I mean is, did you feel
it's again you're born again from the ashes, like
like a phoenix. But you saw this as a challenge to turn around and prove to the world, Mammootty is not finished. Mammootty will
it was only a trial. It was only an attempt. That when you lose your confidence, you will only you will only attempt. And that attempt was successful.
How close to losing your confidence did you come during that period?
Finding something else to do.
You really were thinking of something else?
I was thinking of something else.
It's amazing. Looking back today, 2002 on your career, you've got 3 national awards, 5 Filmfare Awards, 5 Kerala State Awards.
And so many other awards, including Padma Shri.
And yet in 85-86, you were thinking of giving up acting.
Yeah.
Life is strange, isn't it?
Life is strange.
Do you sometimes get surprised by your own success as an actor?
Yes, of course. I'm not mentally prepared to believe where I am. So that I don't behave like a star. I don't feel like a star that I have this and I have that. But even when people won't believe that, I am very lenient, I am very polite, I am humble, but people said I am jackheaded.
You're determined to just be a normal human being.
Yeah, I am very sincere to the profession, dedicated. I am passionate, I love, I am mad, I am crazy about acting.
Is that the secret of your success? The passion?
Wow.
I don't say that, but I cannot find the secret, but I have the passion in me. I still feel, my urge to act in films, I urge to be an actor is not dying. I pray that it should not die. Yeah. It should die with me.
So passion and a sense of self-fulfillment and ambition are the really important qualities.
Yes, you can say, I'm not ambitious, I'm greedy. You can use that word. I'm a greedy actor. Own my role.
And are you satisfied, or are you always hungry to do better?
I'm still hungry. Still hungry means emotionally hungry.
So has the world really seen the full potential of Mammootty, or is there still a lot more that you have?
I'm not worried about the world, whether they are looking for a potential in me, but I am trying to find some potential in me.
Do you think you've shown the world all that you have, or is there still talent inside you that we haven't seen?
If I'm very happy that, if I'm very confident that people or world have seen my potential, I will not try again. I'm digging for the potential again.
And that digging is important.
Yes.
Now, let's take a break. I want to come back.
Whoa, man. I got to give him some credit to his
that was a
interviewer,
lot.
man. The interviewer he's great, man. Like his timing is really good. That he just keeps pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. That felt like a movie dialogue. Like he's speaking.
And he's a great interviewer because he's putting his own words back at him and saying, so you felt this way. And then Mammootty's kind of clarifying what he said or kind of going into a level of detail. So he's actually listening, not just working through a set of questions.
No.
Right? This is really just a very candid interview.
Yeah, I love that. Like he must have had just a really like brief skeleton, and then he's just been like, no, I'm just gonna freestyle it.
We'll go where this goes.
Yeah, exactly.
He's basically doing a reaction video to Mammootty.
Yeah. Pretty much the same thing we're basically doing. But man, to hear him, like I could see the pain. When he sort of mentioned about how he was basically thinking of stop acting, he said like, I'll do something else. Like, man, that must have been a bad time for him. I can tell he's somebody that would have just been affected so much because he put so much. I don't know if he even puts much pressure on himself in some ways, in a way that's probably helped him to get to where he is. But like, man, to hear him just be like that, those 2 years, which is not a long time to be honest, but basically emotionally
he's ready to throw it away.
That's crazy.
That's right. And for someone who at that point in his career is already established as a star, right? So he wasn't just someone who's fledgling and then decided he's given it up because he hasn't had a big role. It's like he's already a superstar, and then he's had, a couple of years of a downturn, and he's, he feels it so much. And that comment he made about people underestimating him, it seems like that is like, you don't do it just to prove people wrong, but it seems like he wanted to show his potential and he knew he had more to give. Yeah. And that's what he's saying, right? Like if he said, if I have no more to give, I'd stop acting. But there's always something more. And as long as I have something more to show people, I will continue doing this. But I just love that discussion about how he's greedy to act.
I know.
It's like, it's his like lifeblood. It's it's the only thing he can do.
It's strange because like that's something that you would probably expect to hear in like, if any actor talked about what drives you, they'll say I'm passionate, but there must be something different about his particular passion, his particular greed. That's something I rarely hear actors say, like I'm greedy to act. So I think that might be the difference, because any actor you ask would be like, why do you act? I'm passionate about acting. I love to act. We've heard that 100 times, but there's something about him because obviously he's not motivated by money. He's not motivated by status. It seems like that's not his upbringing or his roots. He's just he loves the craft so much that he's just wanting to just do as much as he can in different roles. Which is insane because how many Hollywood actors have you seen that just basically at a certain age get typecast and just do a whole ton of bad movies, the rest of their careers.
Yes. And collect a paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. They're still getting paid millions, so why not? But
that's right.
Doesn't cross his mind at all. Like I'm not getting that impression at all. He's so dedicated even till now.
And it's something maybe worth even questioning, right? How many actors do we see where they actually love acting, like love the craft of acting, not just something they're good at so they can do it easily, rock up, make the money, do a passable job, and that's it. Like he's doing it for something more than just kind of money or fame or anything. And this digging in within yourself to find out more about yourself and bring it out and exposing it to the world. Like he even said, it's not about what the world thinks of me. It's whether I believe I have more to give. And I just love that.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go, man. Like, set for someone like him, set your own standards, set your own passion, set your own belief, and go with that. And that's what there's a reason why at 71 he's still lead acting and doing these kind of roles and having such a huge impact. I don't think he could ever be a side character. No, it just wouldn't work for him. He's too passionate at this point. He needs to do more. As he says, he's so greedy. He wants to
And
keep
push
doing it.
himself. Yeah, that's
keep
right.
pushing himself. It's crazy. Yeah, man. Let's keep going. Let's keep going along.
Let's do
Come
it.
back in part 2 and talk about the acting talent that you keep digging to find within yourself. And I also want to talk a little bit more about yourself. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.
Nice little break.
Cheeky intermission.
Yeah.
Welcome back. My guest is the incredible Mammootty. Let's talk about your acting. You often say that you haven't been trained, but you've evolved as an actor. If you had been formally taught acting, would you have been a better actor?
I don't think if I was training is I got trained during my profession. I have a training of 20 years now almost. That training might help me, but outside training like film institute or drama school, you mean?
That sort of thing?
I don't think that unless you are a born actor, no training will help you to become an actor. That's what I feel. I don't know.
That passion that you talked about has to be there.
Wow.
Dedication. They always say that an actor should have observation. I observe things, but it's not the observation. It is the inference, what you infer from your observation. That is what helps the actor to perform.
Audiences always comment on the intensity of your performances. Does this mean that an actor...
Intensity means, intensity actually comes from how much you take the character deep into you, or how much you go into the role. There's the intensity, the quality. The rate of intensity will come.
So what I was going to ask you is, does this intense performance mean that when the director shouts action, you're all alone in front of the camera?
Not only me, every actor is. When the director say action, or even in the stage play, when the curtain raises, you are all alone. Even your co-artists along, those who are acting along with you, they are also in the same boat. There is nobody to help them. You have to decide what to say, what to express, and what kind of emotion, where to go, where to look. There is nobody to tell you.
And in the beginning, the first time it happened, or the first 10, 12 times, was it a frightening moment?
I was trembling inside and outside. But I was, to impress the director, I was trying to be stiff and confident.
But your heart... So this is where self makes the difference.
Yes.
You have to believe you can do it.
Not only you have to believe that, you have to make others believe also that you can do it.
It's an interesting phrase you use, make others believe, because the other comment they make about your acting is that he becomes the characters he plays.
Yeah.
That's, when though I'm not a method actor, if I refer to Stanislavskian method of acting or Brechtian method of acting, or Kathakali method, or our Bharat Muni method of acting, anything, any Nati Shastra, anything. But there are two types of acting for an actor. When he can take the character into him, I can take my character into me, or I can get into the character. Certain times you will be limited with your physically, you won't be able to take the character or get into the role. So that physically you have to take the character into you, because you have to make physically looking like that character. Like we play a police cop. I can fit into the role very well because I have moderately well-built physique. But when you're doing a peasant or a labor or a fisherman or an old man or a handicapped man, you have to do so many other kind of formations, metamorphoses you have to undergo. So I mostly prefer the other way of getting into the role. Getting into the role means you have to behave like that character. You have to move, you have to speak, you have to look, you have to walk, even you have to eat, and you have to breathe.
So when you're acting in a movie, do you live the character for that duration?
Only between action and cut.
And when the cut is over, you switch back to being yourself.
Otherwise, I lose my life. I don't want to.
They say of Mammootty.
Fair point.
Really interesting, man. Because, There's a huge thing in Hollywood to do that, right? Like characters just get absorbed, and they literally do, unfortunately, sometimes lose their lives. From what we've heard from like Heath Ledger and stuff like that, right?
Heath Ledger, yeah, that's right.
I love his perspective. It's like so. Like I mean, I always like hearing like actors talk about sort of their perspective about acting, but his whole, you know, taking it within you or going into the character. Pretty fascinating how you can make a subtle distinction between that. Like it's actually fascinating if it's a role that you can fit into. It sounds like you know, it's something that he can sort of get behind, but if not, then he has to basically put himself outside and go into that character.
Yes,
it's subtle.
That's right.
I think it's pretty interesting.
I completely get the distinction, and like that's the thought process he's going through. It's not like one model fits every role that he's going to do. He has to figure out what works for every role. Just hearing this thought process, and again, just the level of thinking that goes into conceptualizing, because he's talking about different schools of acting in that scene, but then he's kind of created his own philosophy around how you should do it, right? Like he's not just perfectly fitting into method or the other ones that he mentioned. He's like, I split it up into two different things and I choose based on the character I'm asked to perform. So like, oh man, the intellect behind this is, there's a lot going on, which I feel like we always knew, like he's a very thoughtful actor, but hearing him talk about it is just, it's so engrossing, man.
It's really cool. It's interesting that he talked about how, because we talked about the drama school thing at the start. So his perspective is essentially like you don't, you basically can't learn from that. And to an extent, I can understand what he means to that. I think to be an actor, which is such a creative outlet and such a different kind of field, you might get some pointers, as he's obviously had some tips, as you know, he said you're observing, but a lot of it is on you to just understand and what's going on.
That's right.
So I thought that was fascinating too. Obviously, he's a product of his time as well. I think maybe they might teach you to go to school to show you how to emote in certain ways, how to maybe cry, for instance, how to show joy, how to use your voice. But he's mastered all of this. Like, how much does he do? You know, with his acting, performance, physically, his voice work, his just, you know, his presence, all that stuff. He's just inferred by just being this. He's been a student his whole life, it feels like. So he has been studying.
That's right. Yeah, he said, I've been training for 20 years, and that's not formal education. It's him observing, him inferring things and learning from his colleagues as well. And as you mentioned, man, he brings his whole body to an acting performance. It's not just what he's saying, right? And you observe that in the movies he's in. Bhishma Param, it's not what he says. It's the aura he carries around him, the kind of fear that he imbues in other people with just to look, the complete sense of control he's got in any scene that he's in. Then you look at a film like Rorschach, where he's, you know, shoulders are stooped and he's like got a hoodie on, and it's all the mannerisms that really build the character before he even says one word. And then the Munna Yiripu film, where you're never sure whether he's guilty of the crime or not, right?
No.
He walks that tightrope perfectly, and it's all, again, no great monologues in that movie. It is just looks, the occasional way he says, his very demure attitude, his very respectful way of talking to people. And yet you're always sure that something else is going on there. So it's just amazing hearing him dissect all of that and hearing the thinking that goes into it. And even the craft he's saying as you're alone on stage.
Yes, I was going to say that. Yeah.
Because like I had always thought, you're kind of bantering or, you know, you're having a conversation with your co-star or whatever. But I get what he's saying, because you're kind of alone in trying to put this performance forward, and someone will react to you. But I completely understand what he means by he's alone in every scene.
Yeah, it's a really interesting perspective, I thought, because it is like, as much as, you know, we talk about the chemistry between two characters and like how these two work so well together, but in reality, like that's what we're being shown because of the individual performances from each actors are so good, that they themselves have inhibited the character so well individually, you know, from after when the director has cut, in their own mind, in their own presence, in their own body, that they can express that so well. And that is coming across to us as a product. Like, these guys work really well together. But in reality, it's more just individual efforts that are culminating to this awesome product.
That's right. Like, he is the one, as he's saying, responsible for figuring out the mannerisms of this person, how they're going to say a thing, what their body language is. Maybe the director gives a little bit of direction, but ultimately it's him having to figure it out for every scene, how this character will behave and all of his mannerisms, not just the words. It shows you just how intense a role or intense the acting profession can be when you think about it in the way that Mammootty does, which is props because he takes it seriously. Yeah.
No, it's really good to hear this stuff. Like, if there's anyone that thinks that, it's an easy kind of craft, or like it's something that's
yes,
you do it by luck or something like that. No, there's a lot of work and effort that goes into it. And Mammootty obviously, shows us that in so many different ways. But I think it's a journey of an actor that they have to go through to get into this mental state. It's not an easy feat, man. So I applaud anyone that can do this kind of stuff. It's incredible.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. Cool. We've got 5 more minutes. Let's just go through the whole way, man.
Let's do it. If
you are listening, apologies, this is a bit long, but I hope you're enjoying it. We're just loving listening to this a lot, so we just want to keep listening to it.
It's so much fun.
Mammootty
Let's keep going.
He's a great actor, but he clearly doesn't like dancing.
I love, but I can't. That's my problem. Secret. I love dancing. I like it. I'm jealous of people. I envy them, those who dance as well. But I can't dance.
And
I'm not confident. When I do steps, I look
That's amazing.
Both sides because I'm going wrong. I'm not confident.
Is it that you're not confident, or that you don't like to see yourself dancing? In your mind's eye, you can't see it properly.
Because unless you dance on a stage, I can mentally get prepared that somebody's dancing on the road and singing. I feel it's from the very beginning. I thought it was unnatural, so I was not keen on that.
Okay.
What about something else? Your performances are deeply intense, full of passion, and full of depiction. Are you good at comedy?
Still, that timing I'm not getting. But I can do comedy, which is a realistic comedy.
Yeah, okay.
But slapstick you can't.
I cannot. I do comedy. I cannot play a fool. I cannot play an idiot. No, I cannot. I don't know why I'm not liberal to that kind of thing. But people like my comedy, which is very serious comedy. Not very serious, not black comedy. When I play a role, if the role demands comical sequences, it happens. But I cannot play comedy when I'm doing serious roles.
Let's talk about some of the challenging roles that you've taken on. One of the most challenging movies you did recently was Ambedkar. You had to dub it in Hindi, you had to dub it in English, and not just simple English, but a 1950s variant of Oxford English as spoken by an Indian.
Yes, that took nearly 30 days to finish the dubbing. And I was undergoing so much of training to speak my lines. Though during the shoot, I could not speak it properly because my mouth was fully filled with dentures to look fatter. So I was not able to speak it properly.
Wow.
During the dubbing, I went to an English lady for the accent, and somebody was sitting with me to maintain the English, which I'm from south part of India, so my English might influence. So I was trained by a man from.
So you virtually had to relearn how to speak the English language. Was that difficult?
No.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Recently, I heard that Brad Pitt or Johnny Depp, somebody is learning English. Being an Englishman, he's an American. He's learning Wales English with a tutor. So all that time, nothing.
So if he can do it, so
He
can you.
can do it.
Many people say that it was one of your greatest performances and you won your 3rd national award for Ambedkar. And yet I'm told you had to think long and hard before you accepted the film.
Formerly, I was not prepared to believe that I can look like Ambedkar. Still, I don't believe, but they made me look like. Then after I accepted it was a real task because one thing I could myself invent was that nobody was alive who was this Ambedkar. So nobody's going to question me that you don't look like. He was not like that.
Mammootty was Ambedkar.
Whatever Mammootty did was Ambedkar. That was I'm trying to redefine and impress. But I still remember some Godbale, who was very close man of Ambedkar who is still alive, I think. He was in Nagpur when I went to shoot, and he came to me and met me. We was very happy. When he was sitting with me, normally, when I put the makeup for the Diksha scene, the last scene, he was literally crying. He said, "You are him." I see Baba Sahib is standing before me. And nearly 200,000 people came for the shoot, also was standing and clapping, and I cannot still describe the emotion they had. That is
Wow.
that is a that is what I got.
Those are rare moments for an actor when people actually who knew the real person fully believe that you are that person again. When that happens, what does it feel like?
That's surreal.
I don't know what is it. It's not for me anyway. It is for him.
But it's also a compliment to the extent to which you can become him.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that's very little. All compliment, all devotion, everything was for Ambedkar himself, not for me. It's because I'm looking like him. That's all.
So you're determined to say that applause is for Ambedkar, not for Mammootty's acting.
Acting, maybe. Okay, if I act well, people definitely applaud. But that 200,000 people were not expecting Mammootty on the stage. They were seeing Ambedkar again.
This is, I suppose, what you mean when you said earlier, I'm determined to keep my feet on the ground and keep myself humble.
Yeah.
No, when you say truth, you cannot say that you're humble. It's true. I believe so. I don't take that credit to me.
Mammootty, a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for this wonderful interview.
Oh, man.
Wow, man. That was a great ending.
That was a great ending, man. I'm just blown away by the humbleness, man. Like, he didn't take any credit for that. And I get what he's saying, that whoever this figure was, Ambedkar, I'm not sure who that is, but he was able to differentiate and not take the credit for that and recognize acting as a small component of what made people applaud that.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it's actually a very serious role, man. Ambedkar is like the equivalent of like Gandhi in India. Like, he's that much of a liberator. Wherever you go, any police stations, any schools, you'll see photos of Ambedkar. He basically he brought liberty to a lot of people that were impoverished. Less rights, the caste system. He fought all that. I think he even wrote the Constitution of India. So he did a lot of really, really good things. So for Mammootty to play that, it's funny what he mentioned. He sort of played a mind game to sort of make himself accept the role, to be like, no one can actually tell me whether I'm Ambedkar or not because no one knows him.
That's it. But I also just love the integrity. Like, his initial thinking was, I can't be him. Like, I can't get into that character. I won't look like him. Like, if you're going to play this amazing character, you'd think any actor would jump at the opportunity, right?
Of course, yeah.
To take this defining role. And he's like, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that, or I'm going to be able to do justice for that. I love that kind of commitment to the profession, man. It's not just about taking the biggest role or whatever. It's can I deliver on it? And even that humbleness in saying I can't do comedy or I can't do dance.
Yes.
Like, and that I would love to be able to do those things, or slapstick comedy and dance. I love the just humbleness of saying, okay, those are skills I don't have, and explaining it so well, because he's all about realism, and he's saying I can't just pretend to be a really dumb person or a fool or something, because I can't dig deep to find that in me. Yeah. And, other people can do it. But I love that mentality of, okay, he's not just going to play every role that's given to him. He's going to see if he can do justice to that. And if he can't, he won't take it up. But I just loved hearing about the way he differentiated kind of the different types of comedy. And, and when he said, it doesn't make sense to me that people are singing and dancing on the side of a road. I get it, right? Like that kind of Bollywood image you have of people just dancing everywhere randomly, that doesn't ring true with him. So he can't inhabit that role. I love hearing that.
Yeah, we've seen it in all his roles, right? There's a certain element of realism and authenticity. So I think anything that breaks that, like such as slapstick comedy, which is not something we actually see in real life. Like, it's an invention of movies. Like, slapstick comedy is not anything you see in real life.
Yeah.
Because we know comedy, we know situational comedy, we know comedy through through speech and talk and jokes and comedians. But slapstick is an invention of just the movies, as is sort of the dancing that happens at random spots.
Yes.
As sort of the Bollywood image you mentioned, it's not real. So for him, he can't do that because his mind cannot get into that phase. So it's just fascinating to hear. He's all driven by just what's up here. Like, can he compute it and it makes sense? If it does, then he can do it. If not, he can't break out of that. So it's fascinating. And that's why his roles are so powerful because he's able to get into that character so well because he can align himself so well with that. So fascinating, man. Yeah, but Sunny, so that was so much fun. I really enjoyed listening to Mammootty speak and this BBC interview. It's just nice to do this kind of stuff a bit different. But man, any final thoughts on this sort of interview? What are your sort of final impressions?
Oh, man, I mean, firstly, I could listen to Mammootty talk about films for hours, man. That was just so captivating, and I was glued to the screen the entire time. Secondly, it's just, I haven't heard many actors talk about films, and he seems to be just someone who's thought about it so much, and it's such a pleasure hearing the work that goes into it, because you don't see it, right? All you kind of assume camera goes on, they just turn into someone else and they do it, but hearing the work that goes into it, like, it just gives me so much respect for how he approaches his work, man. Like, the constant reinvention of himself, always digging for something new, something that he's continued through to the age he is now. It's inspiring, I think, in its own way. And I can only imagine the impact he's had on the next generation of Malayalam actors, man. If you look up to him, it's a high benchmark to meet, and you want to keep pushing yourself. So yeah, man, amazing interview.
No, amazing interview. I really enjoyed watching that interview. I think the interviewer was also really good. Asked the right questions.
Top notch.
Really professional. It's really nice to see that kind of style, man. It took us back to a different time period. The way he was dressed and everything like that looked really professional.
But
it's just
professional, and kind of mixing it up between like serious and comedy as well. Like, asked him about how he can't do dancing and stuff. I thought that was good.
No, it was really good. I really enjoyed that. And I think the humbleness comes across just clearly from start to finish. And that's what we just see in all his movies. Like, it's
there's no element of a superstar to him when you hear him talk, right? There's no like, I'm great, or, he's got the awards, of course, and all of that, but he seems like an ordinary person as far as I could tell. Like, he's, as the interviewer said, his feet are very much on the ground and he remains grounded. And maybe you have to be that way if you want to play the characters he's played. You have to be very in touch with reality and not be kind of in the sky as a superstar sort of.
No, even the way he was dressed and everything like that, right? Everything about him, he looked like just a common person. Like, if you saw him in the shops or something like that, you wouldn't even like notice. It would feel like he could easily go anywhere. Obviously, he's got such a big status that anyone that knows the Malayalam film industry would just freak out if they saw Mammootty. But
lose their mind. I'd
freak out me too, man. That would be huge. But that was so much fun. We hope you enjoyed this reaction video. It's a little bit different for us, but we really, we want to watch more Mammootty movies. You've already left us so many suggestions, but honestly, leave some more because we want to do more Mammootty movies. The more we get, the more we can see which ones are popular, see which ones people want to see more. So leave us your top 5 Mammootty movies and let us know what you think about, Mammootty in general. And yes, Sunny, this was an absolute delight, and let's make sure we do more of this kind of stuff.
Man, absolute delight. Looking forward to seeing more of Mammootty, man, as always.
Definitely. See you guys.
Catch you guys.